So we're getting ready to finish up 2024. We're getting ready to roll into 2025. And if you have any desire to make songs in your own home studio coming up in 2025, then you're going to need to get some gear. So I'm going to walk you through all the different components that you might want to try to get in order to be able to put together a song. And I'll talk you through what each one of those is used for and talk about some basic recommendations around that. So the first thing that you're really going to need is a computer. You can use a PC or a Mac. You can use a laptop or you can use a desktop. It really doesn't matter. Just make sure that you have a really good CPU on it and a lot of RAM in there and a decent size hard drive. You might also want to have a backup hard drive or a secondary hard drive that you can put all of your samples from different VST instruments and things like that, because all that can add up really quickly when you start recording a bunch of material. The computer is really going to be the heart of your operation. Everything that you do out here in the real world, you're going to pipe through to your computer, and then you're going to put it into a program that's going to help you put together music, which we'll talk about here in just a second. And then the same computer is going to be the thing that helps you get the music back out and into the real world in terms of through your speakers or headphones or whatever else. So the first piece of software that you're going to need is your DAW, or a digital audio workstation. This is essentially the hub of where you put together your music. There's a whole bunch of different versions of DAWs that you can look at. There's things like Logic Pro if you're an Apple user. There is Ableton Live. There is FL Studio. There's Cubase. And there's a whole bunch of other ones that are available to you. I often recommend that you go and get trial versions of the different ones, figure out which one works the best for you. But this is essentially going to be the heart of where you build your songs. And it's essentially your playground, your lab of where you put together all of your ideas and try to turn them into something that you're going to release into the world. So the next piece of hardware that you're going to need is an audio interface. And what this is a box that helps you transfer things between your computer and then out to the real world. So you can think of it as when you're singing into a microphone or you're playing on your guitar or doing something along those lines, you have to have a way to translate what you're doing out here and get that into your computer. And this is what the audio interface does. It takes all of the sound that you're creating out here, puts it through a microphone or through a cable, and it translates it so that your computer can understand it. So speaking of translating the things from the real world to the computer, one of the things that you're going to need is a microphone. There's a couple different varieties of microphones. There's a condenser microphone, there's a dynamic microphone, there's ribbon microphones. Most often you hear people talking about condenser microphones, especially when they're thinking about vocals. But you can also use dynamic microphones for recording your vocals as well as recording other instruments. And I often recommend that beginners get a dynamic microphone to start out, because it helps you not have to worry about a lot of other things such as the sound absorption in your room, sound reflections, those kinds of things. It gives you a little bit more freedom to not have to worry about a whole bunch of other things and buy a whole bunch of other equipment that you don't need necessarily right off the bat. So the next piece of hardware that you're also going to need are just some cables, and you'll need an XLR cable. That's going to be the cable that runs between your microphone and your audio interface. And then the same thing for an instrument cable. The instrument cable is going to be the device that connects between your guitar and an audio interface, or a bass and an audio interface, or maybe even a keyboard and an audio interface. You're also going to need a Midi keyboard. Midi keyboard is a way for you to actually play virtual instruments. And what I mean by that is there is software that will let you play instruments that you don't physically have. So if you don't have a grand piano, you can find a virtual instrument that is a grand piano, and this device will let you play that grand piano. Or it might be a bass sound, or it could be some strings, or it could be a whole host of other instruments like synthesizers or other things that you can play, and you can use this Midi keyboard in order to control that. And the next piece of gear that you're going to get is a nice pair of headphones. I recommend closed-back headphones. These are what you're going to be wearing when you are recording your audio. So when you're recording your voice or you're recording guitar, it lets you listen to everything that you're recording without having the bleed from all that other audio coming out of your speakers or other places. It helps you isolate what you're recording and get that into the system without anything else coming into that recording. So one of the things that I recommend for beginners to do is to download these packages that are put together by a couple different companies that will let you have multiple virtual instruments, synths, and plugins that you can mess around with, see what you like. And then if you do like their packages, you can upgrade into a better version that has more options for you to use. One of the companies that offers a pack like this is Native Instruments. They have a pack called Complete Start, and it's kind of a sampler of different instruments, synths, and plugins. So with it, you can test out a whole bunch of different sounds, see if you like it. And they also have some other versions of Complete that you can upgrade to and pay for, and you'll get more instruments and more options from there. IK Multimedia is another company that has a starter package, and you can get some samples of different instruments, plugins, drums, bass, things like that, that you can test out and see if you like those. And if you like that, they have some packages that you can upgrade into and get some more options. Spitfire Audio also has a tool that you can download different instruments and test them out. They have a bunch of free instruments that you can try out, things like drums, bass, strings, things along those lines. And if you like what you hear there, they also have a monthly version that you can get where you can get access to some other sounds and things that they create and put out for people to use for their projects. It can feel a little bit intimidating when you're trying to figure out what equipment that you need to put together your own home studio. But if you're looking to do this in 2025, I've laid out all those different pieces of equipment that you need. I'll also provide a link in the description below to something like a Google Sheet that will give you some of those recommended products and links to them. They won't be affiliate links. They'll just be products that I've tried, used, or recommend. So you can check that out in the description below. I'd love it if you'd leave a comment down below of anything that you'd like for me to cover more in depth, and I will see you in the next round.